Hi folks, well we're back again with the garden. Now what we're doing is we are planting tomato plants. As you can see, I've got some here that I got from a greenhouse. I've already put some others in the ground. Tomatoes are probably the favorite vegetable, or whatever you want to call it, fruit or vegetable, that people put in their gardens. They're very easy to grow. I like planting a bunch of varieties because we make our own spaghetti sauce, homemade tomato juice, things like that. So what I've done here, I've got one row in the ground already. I don't know if you can see it with the sun so far. I'm ready to start the second one. The first four that I put in were those Oxheart varieties, those heirloom tomatoes that I said I got from Landis Valley Museum. They were in the house, and as you can see, they're kind of pale. That's what happens when you bring them out of the house, put them outside for a few days. They get pale like that for a while, and then they'll perk back up. They also get a bit more leggy, or long-legged, shall we say, than the tomatoes that are grown in a greenhouse, because the light is directional when you plant them in the house. So they all stretch out to try to get to the sunlight. In a greenhouse, the light's kind of coming from everywhere, so the plants tend to be stockier like those are. But both types will grow, and I shouldn't have any problems with them. I've done this way in the past for a number of years, and both tend to work. They'll look sickly for a few days, and then they'll perk up. These next 6 plants here are called Super Steak. This is a new one for me to try this year. I want to try something a little different than just a beef steak. I also have Big Boys and those others that I planted indoors, those cherry type tomatoes. And these 6 over here is another new variety I wanted to try. It's called Supersonic. It's supposed to bear heavy, so we'll see. What I typically do, as I told you in the last video, I just tilled strips here because of the garden being so wet and it being so late and not being able to get things in the way I want to, and a storm potentially coming later this evening. I just wanted to get them in. The in-between rows, like I said, I can always come back later and till those. That's just weed control in between. My spacing is about 6 feet apart, 6 feet between rows, 6 feet between plants. That seems like an awful lot when they're little like this, but trust me, if you don't want your tomato plants just turning into a jungle, keep them a good distance apart, because they will get big and they will get bushy, and you don't want them to kind of intergrow, or you can't get in at them because they're just vines. So basically what I do, plant them. I've taken my hoe, just dug a hole. I'll pull one plant at a time out of the tray, and then I'll use my trowel there to cover them up. I'll firm the soil around them. They can be planted deep, and in fact I've read some places they suggest you plant your tomato plants deep because the stems can actually serve as nutrient sources or nutrient gatherers too, just like the roots. So it doesn't hurt if they're buried a little deeper. Obviously you don't want to bury all the leaves, but you can put them in deeper and then they'll root better. At least that's what they claim. So what I will be doing here too is I will add tomato cages around them, and then I also like to put a stake inside the cage for more support. What happens, the cages, even if you get say a 4.5, 5 foot cage, some of these tomato plants, especially the bigger, heavier bearing ones, will grow maybe 5, 6 feet tall and be bushy. And once they get heavy fruit on them, a pound in size or more, they'll tend to just want to fall right over and take the cage with them. But I found if I put a stake, just a little wooden stake, maybe 5, 6 feet, right inside the cage to give it support, then it can't fall over basically, and it holds the plants upright. You want to keep the plants up and off the ground. You don't want the tomatoes or the plants to be on the ground, because that's where the bugs get in and the other kind of diseases and things like